Here's a good question for you. Will the Tesla solar business ever even be a real business? This is Randy Kirk. If this is interesting content for you, if you think it's valuable in terms of how you understand Tesla and all the rest, please hit the like button and then subscribe and hit notify if you'd like to see upcoming videos. I'm doing one this afternoon with Scott Walter, and we're going to take a deep dive into Master Plan 3. That's going to be a great one. We got more great ones coming up all weekend. All right, let's dig. Oh, and by the way, do join Patreon. It's only $5 a month, and you can help support the channel, help me to continue to make videos like this. All right, moving right along. The solar business, the solar roof business. Okay, let me give you just a quick history of my thinking about the solar roof business way before I cared about Tesla. Once the solar concept came out, I was like all about it. It was very exciting, and I thought it was a great product. In fact, I'm going to say it was about 10 years ago that I put a solar roof on my house that I now rent out in West Los Angeles. It just made total sense to me. So that solar roof has been saving me money every single year since. And I know many of you probably have solar roofs as well. I thought then that every other house in the neighborhood would get a solar roof. I live in Southern California. I came out to Riverside. I now live in Riverside, which is desert. And I thought every house in Riverside ought to have a solar roof. They don't. So what happened? Why aren't solar roofs selling better? What's holding the whole thing back? Why isn't Tesla going crazy in the solar roof business? Yes, we know they had a whole bunch of problems with the actual solar panels, the very beautiful and great concept that they designed. Well, they had three big problems. Number one is it was much harder to install than they thought. Then when they did start getting the installations to work a little bit better, they ran into the COVID whole thing and people not having the money. Then they found out, well, maybe they couldn't find enough contractors. I mean, they've had so many difficulties getting this thing off the ground. There was reporting last week that they had only ever installed 3,000 of them total. Tesla said that is incorrect, but they did not correct it to say what the real number is. So whatever the number is, quite frankly, the solar business is a big, big negative for Tesla. It's costing Tesla profits right now. It's a negative profit. They're making no money. They're losing money in the solar division. This has nothing to do whether it was wise when Tesla bought this out from his cousins. That may or may not have been wise at the time. I'm not going to get into that whole mess. All I can say is I love solar. I love the concept. I think it should be on every house. And yet here we are many, many years later, and the industry itself is not successful. The growth rate on solar is about 9% per year. That's not a big business. That's not a serious, growing, crazy business. You would think that just the folks who are, absolutely devastated or think that the world is going to end because of global warming, you would think that just those folks alone would be putting solar on their roofs. But they can't be. The numbers are way too small. As I drive around, maybe one of the best places in the country for solar would be, the Inland Empire in Southern California or San Diego area in Southern California. Any of these areas should be where we have sun like 300 days a year. Why wouldn't we have solar on every single roof? Okay. Well, I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT had a number of reasons. I may not cover every single reason that ChatGPT came up with, but let's look at what they said. Well, first of all, they said there's the high initial cost. Well, okay. I want to look at the high initial cost, but you have to look at the high initial cost in terms of the nuance. The nuance is, will it work? All right. So now I live in a condo in Riverside, a golf course condo. And a great place to put a roof, but this particular house averages about $140 a year in electric bill. So again, how much am I going to save? 140 is not really enough to get excited about. And then I have a ceramic roof. So the solar panels look horrible. I'm not even sure you can put solar panels on a ceramic roof. And so the entire subdivision is ceramic roofs. It may be absolutely impossible. I know it was hard to get somebody to put solar panels on my steel roof. Tesla would not put their solar panels on my steel roof. So I had to use somebody else for the unit that I have in West Los Angeles. So so it doesn't really make sense on my 1,700 square foot house in Riverside, where the sun is always shining. The cost of my electric bill isn't high enough to really get me excited. Okay. And then you add in the ceramic roof. So there's a bunch of nuances going on there. How many houses have a electric bill that's $200, $300, $400, $500 a month? Well, quite frankly, you got to be talking about 2,500 square feet or more for that electric bill to be that high. Then you got a whole bunch of people that live in apartments. They're not going to be, bugging their landlord to get a solar roof. So the overall TAM may be a lot less than everybody thought. So Tesla switched and they said, okay, let's go after new house builds. I think this was a very smart move. And the state of California even came in and said every new house built in Southern California has to have a solar roof on it. I didn't actually look this up, but I don't see any evidence, any indication from Tesla or anybody else that Tesla is installing tons and tons of roofs on new homes being built in Southern California. That would be, let me know in the comments below if you know anything about whether every new house in California is getting a solar roof and or whether Tesla is getting any of that business. So and then you get into industrial. I, as you know, owned a business with a 25,000 square foot facility. And I looked into the possibility of putting solar on that roof probably about 25 years ago. It didn't make sense. Didn't make sense then. I've talked to solar installers here in Southern California who do industrial, and they do a few industrial, but not very many. Are these people aware of the potential of adding power walls or megapacks to these industrial and commercial kinds of roofs? I'm not sure whether they are or aren't, but that would make a huge difference in the affordability. And 25 years later, I'm quite confident that my manufacturing company, which had a solar bill of $14,000 a month, an electric bill of $14,000 a month, I'm pretty sure that the solar would have worked out. But then I think to myself, how come Tesla doesn't have solar on every single one of their installations, every one of their buildings? The guys that do these drone flyovers are making a big deal about Tesla in Austin getting, all the solar up on the roof, and some of these new facilities have some solar. But why isn't every building covered with solar? Does anybody know? Please put in the comments if you know why Tesla doesn't have every building covered with solar at this point. So there's a disconnect there between the ability, the value of putting solar. Solar prices have come down dramatically this year, but have they come down in terms of the actual install? I don't know. So lots of questions. I don't have a lot of answers. Maybe you have some answers, put them in the comments. Maybe somebody will do some research and find this out, or maybe it's just never going to be a business. I'm not sure. Now, as solar comes down and Powerwall prices come down, maybe there comes a point at which it's a no-brainer, even if your electric bill is only $150 a month. Maybe that's true, but right now, that eliminates an awful lot of homes. The number two reason that ChatGPT said was lack of knowledge and awareness. So people just don't know, is this a good deal or isn't it a good deal? I will tell you, you already know this, that the solar installing companies spend a fair amount of money advertising and promoting solar roofs on cable television, through email blasts, through their websites and other ways. I have never had, as a marketing consultant, I've never had a solar company as a client, so I haven't ever had to try to sell solar installations, but they're spending a lot of money. I would say there's a substantial profit, and so they're spending a substantial amount of money. It doesn't seem to be working. Next will be challenges in installation. So every house is different and unique. So when they're going to make these installations, it can become difficult. And combining those last three, I know Tesla set up a very clever online system that would eliminate all the need for advertising and promotion and a lot of customer service by having it all be automated, where the satellites would come over, take a picture of your roof. That would be, available on the Tesla website. They would be able to look at your roof, and then they would be able to give you an estimate based on that solar view. Again, there doesn't, to me, I'm not seeing that is really helping and making things go better. A huge one has been regulation, and getting in the way of solar installations has been regulations and the fights with the utilities. So some cities have made it difficult to install or not made it easy, while other cities and counties and states have given deals, given rebates and whatnot to get you to do it. So there's a lot of difference depending on various localities, whether you're getting a fight from the city or whether you're getting some help from the city. In the county that I live in, Riverside County, they own their own utility. And does that maybe get in the way of them caring whether you put in solar or not? They make a lot of money on their utility and they don't want you to put in solar. That's a possibility. Then there's this whole business of being able to sell back excess power to the utility. I do that in my unit in West LA because Southern California Edison is under a lot of pressure to buy back these overages. But it's not true in every place. In some places, they don't buy it back. And in every place, including Southern California with Southern California Edison, they still give you a monthly charge for a connection, for being hooked up to the overall grid to people that have solar roofs. So I pay a special fee to Southern California Edison every month. Much less whether I'm able to sell back. So depending on the area, the utilities are fighting solar. And so this ends up being a problem. Weather and geographic limitations. Obviously, another issue for the TAM is whether it's a good deal. So, famously Portland or London or possibly Milwaukee would be places where you would think, gosh, they don't get a lot of sun, or they're very, very cold in the winter, so they're not getting as much UV. The days are shorter in winter, the farther north you go. So where is it a good deal? And Tony Seba has done an analysis where he says basically solar is a good deal everywhere, but I'm going to question whether Tony was talking about on roofs. So solar might be a great deal in terms of a solar array where it is designed to get the maximum amount of sun every single day, year round, and store it, et cetera, et cetera. But maybe it's not that great a deal in some locations that are farther north, that are colder, and or that are rainier and have fewer sunny days. So that's another issue where that would reduce the overall TAM. Maintenance and durability. I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about this. I actually do have questions about this. I've never cleaned my solar panels. I've never had anybody come in and clean them. I've never had anybody maintain them. I don't know. I don't even know who to pick up the phone and call to get that done. Are there companies out there that do this on a regular basis? I don't know. And I even have, an installation. So maybe in the comments below, let me know. Are there people out there that do that? How do you look them up? So maybe I could be getting more savings if I clean them, or maybe there's maintenance issues that I'm not even aware of. How often should they be maintained? I'm very interested in the category, and I don't know. Imagine for the rest of the population who haven't even installed one yet, they don't know, and they would know even less than I do about how to start looking for it. Lack of standardization. Everybody's got their own system. When I started to do mine, and Tesla said no, because I would have just done Tesla automatically. Actually, at that time, it was what was the name of the Sun? I forget what the name of their company was. But anyway, the original company that the cousins owned, When they said no, I just went ahead and I had several people come in and quote. And boy, these are sales guys like me. These are sales guys, and they want to sell their unit. And it's really, really hard to tell who's got the better deal, which ones are going to last for 25 years, which ones are going to give me the best result. Should I buy enough panels? My brother has solar in his home in San Diego. He said, no, you don't have to buy enough, buy about 80%, because that's going to be a better deal for you over time. But then somebody else said, no, you should buy 120%. Anyway, there you go. And if you're going to sell it back to the utility, then doing 120% makes sense. But if you can't sell it back to the utility, should you over prepare? And then if you have a Tesla automobile sometime in the future, then you want more panels. How do you get more panels put up? These are all questions that are not answered by me. So for Tesla, I think part of the problem is that they're not going to be primary on the solar panels themselves, on the solar cells. There's no way. It's a massive business to get into, and there's plenty of people making them that are already not making much money. It's a commodity, and there's no way they're going to be primary on that. So they're buying the solar cells from others. Not 100% sure whether they might even be buying the full panels from third parties. They're not, except for their basic units where they're making the entire what would you call it? Where they're making the entire roof, as opposed to adding panels, they're making the solar roof. Those they're making in their facility in Buffalo. And so that's their primary on that. But that doesn't seem to be doing well. And I think it's probably because all the problems, then they raised the price, and now the price is substantially higher than a new roof. So now you have to combine and say, okay, is it a better deal compared to a brand new roof and the added panels, as opposed to going with a much more beautiful roof? For folks that have got the money, I think it's an obvious decision. Makes total sense. These are a bunch of, as a marketing guy, and I'm looking at this and I'm looking at all the other opportunities that I have at Tesla, I'd be going, who cares about this division? That's just the honest truth. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And then also like and hit the subscribe button and even the notify button so that you can be notified about two shows a day. That's my goal. Every day I try to do 2. This is the morning show, and this afternoon back with Scott. So until I see you again this afternoon, it's been great talking to you.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.